What's going on, everybody? It's David Allen with the Common Threads podcast here, episode number 10. Today's going to be awesome because I have a good friend on here who happens to live a stone throw away from our storefront. And I've seen him once since he's moved here. So Kevin O'Loughlin with Movement Mortgage. Kevin, I appreciate you being here, man. One of my closest friends there is, one of the similar-minded individuals that I know, and continuing to make strides and just kicking ass in the mortgage industry and the housing industry. So I appreciate you being here, dude. This is cool, and it's going to be a fun episode to just sit here and talk with you for a little bit. So
yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. And I just bought a bike recently, and I was gonna ride my bike in with my helmet on to be funny, but maybe next podcast we'll do that. So
we'll keep it rolling. No, it's awesome to have you, man. I've known you now for what, 2 years, 3 years,
yeah,
something.
Probably pushing 3 years.
It's awesome because I had a chance to meet you. You've been beyond supportive of my business. You've been beyond supportive of the brand. Any fashion shows that we have, you're always donating. You've purchased product off me, so I appreciate that first and foremost. And I think the friendship that's come with it has been incredible. And I'm figuring out a way to help you out because you've done a lot for me, and I don't know how much I've actually been able to help you. So
good, man.
Hopefully I can return the favor here soon. So I want to just kind of dive in, man. And you have an interesting story. You're, to me, an outsider in the mortgage and the home loan in the real estate world. I'm a complete outsider.
Right.
Everything I've seen, your name pops up all the time. Your business seems to be continuing to flourish. So I definitely want to dive into that stuff. But I also want to kind of pick your brain on what happened previous to doing everything. Really get an idea of who you are, what your story is, what your journey is, and what got you to be associated with Movement Mortgage, and then we'll dive deeper into that. Yeah. So if you can kind of open it up, man, just let the listeners that are paying attention here, know a little bit about who you are, what you've done, and what led you to this step, and we'll start kind of picking away at your story here.
Yeah, for sure, man. So for me, grew up in Western New York, and there's a car business in my family for generations. Like my father, and family have sold Cadillacs for over like 100 years. So it was always kind of like, okay, you're gonna sell cars if you're in O'Loughlin, Yep. And I saw that my whole life. My dad and brother kind of went into that, and when I got out of school and college and everything, it was I was looking for other opportunities. And long story short, I started in the dealership. There was no way really avoiding that on summers. I'd be scrubbing down cars in the detail shop and kind of learning work. So my dad and brother, they were successful people, but it was never like you were handed anything. So I feel like sometimes in those families that you see, sometimes people are handed stuff and it ruins people. It doesn't teach them work ethic. So definitely had some good work ethic instilled at a young age. And man, like after that, in school and everything, my dad got me a job with his banker, and it was like, hey, you need an internship? All right. My dad's calling up his banker that does his auto loans. Yep. So boom, fast forward right after school, I went to St. Bonaventure University in Western New York. Dad is saying, hey, I got you an intern. And that was what was needed to complete the graduate program, this, that, and the third. So I jumped in and I was doing auto loans for about 3 years, man. And they actually moved me down to Pittsburgh. They were like, hey, we need someone to hit the streets, go into the car dealerships, walk in and get them to send loans to our bank. And they didn't really have they had a minor footprint, but not a really large footprint in, the greater Pittsburgh area. So that was a great learning experience because for me, growing up in a small town of Olean, New York, St. Bonaventure University, small college, small town vibes, everybody knows everybody, so it was easy for me to do business in my hometown because there was already a reputation built for my family, and to just up and leave, go to Pittsburgh, not know anyone, that was a huge wake-up call for me. And it's like, I'm knocking on doors,
How old were you whenever you made that decision to shift to come south to Pittsburgh?
That was right when I finished up my master's degree at St. Bonaventure. So I was probably just about 21, 22 years at the time.
So right out into the adulthood essentially, and you're going to a city you knew nobody here. Was there anybody from work? Was there any friends, family at all?
Yeah, so it actually played out nice. So I accepted the position, and one of my buddies who's still here today actually ended up rooming with me in Pittsburgh. So it's me and my buddy Lewis. And, thankfully I had, some support there. So from a social life, it was nice to have a buddy to, go out with on the weekend. But outside of that, man, that was basically everyone, that we had known in the Pittsburgh area. No connections or really anything.
So it's crazy I'm 35 years old. I've lived in Pittsburgh my whole life. I've fortunately been able to travel, and for when I was in medical sales, every week I was on a plane somewhere. I was driving to a different city. But if you don't do that stuff, you don't realize what else is out there, number one.
Right.
And, right now I'm actually kicking the idea of potentially moving to Florida at some point and really uprooting my life and changing. And moving from one city to another is a drastic change.
Right.
And I don't think people understand it, despite that it's only a 3-hour drive or so from Pittsburgh to Buffalo. It's still a big change. And especially whenever I want to focus on the mental side of that for now, because just like you decided to make a big change, a lot of the people that are listening are following along, following some of the motivation. They're following my story, seeing things that we've overcome. So, there's a lot of people in a position that you were in where you decide to say, hey, I'm going to uproot my life and go somewhere else.
Right.
How was the first stages of that? Obviously, you just mentioned you were with one of your great friends, which certainly helps out a lot, I would assume. But you're going from giving up essentially, I don't want to say something that was handed to you, but you were giving up a situation where it was probably going to be easier in that stage to make money. It was probably going to be easier to network because you already had an established name, established brand. So talk to me a little bit about the challenges that you faced early on when you came to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was just overcoming the fear, you eventually get more comfortable with cold calling and doing that stuff the more you do it. But I don't care who you are. If you're picking up the phone to try to sell somebody that you don't know out of nowhere, and if you have to walk into a place, it's like every entrepreneur I feel like you hear on podcasts these days are like, I used to sell printers door to door. You know what I mean? It was almost like I had a little bit of a taste of that, of where like I was trying to find ways into these car dealerships, man, and what kind of connection was going to lead me in there. Did I know anyone? Creep them on Facebook. Who owns it? One of my first dealerships that I signed up was actually my brother's roommate in college worked there, and his dad owned it somehow. So like Three Rivers, Dodge and Jeep, on the corner here, the Fournier family, and great family, by the way. And that was my way in, and started getting some deals from them. And I'm asking Ryan Fournier, the finance manager, hey, who do you know?
Yep.
Who can, you know what I mean? It's just start hitting the road, and just not like you're taking the punches every day. And it's just like getting used to that. And I remember just writing down a target list and just building your target audience list and start going after and finding ways in, man, is kind of how it started.
So, a couple of things that I think about as you're talking with that, and, I equate to when I was in medical sales, and a lot of my business was, hey, I'd pick a territory. A lot of it was Western New York. I covered that for 5 or 6 years. And I'd go to an area, I'd check a zip code, I'd check a city, and I would make sure I hit every single person in that vicinity. Would walk in, cold call, and some of the people I knew, some I didn't know. Most of the time you hear no. Right. And that's the unique thing, I think, what builds this strong foundation to become an entrepreneur, to become successful in business, is hearing the word no. Yep. Because it makes you realize that you don't have to be 100% at anything, right? You have to give 100% of effort to get something. Right. But 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100 could potentially be all you need to see the next level of success. Right. So a lot of people don't understand that. Right.
Yeah, man. And you got to figure out what, how are you different in the marketplace? And I've always applied that to everything I've done. So for me, I was in Pittsburgh knocking on car dealerships' doors for about a year. And at the end of the day, like I started to outperform some of my colleagues. And in the banking system, it was more of a like, hey, you've been here 5 years. All right, we're taking you to the next pay scale. It wasn't as really based on performance. Former athlete, I'm very competitive. I was like, man, I need to find a commission job, because I was selling, but I really wasn't getting paid on a commission. It was mostly salary. Yep. So I lost motivation quickly. So after a year, man, I just started sending my resume out on LinkedIn. LinkedIn makes it so easy. You click a button, it sends your resume to a job, because they posted jobs on there. And just started to applying to jobs in warm states. So from Buffalo, hate the effing snow. Come down to hate it. Yeah? Hate it.
Would you ever move back?
No, absolutely not. from the snow, moved to Pittsburgh. I'm like, it's 10 degrees warmer down here. That's pretty cool. I'll ride with it. And then I'm like, it's still cold here. You still get the winter. So I just started firing my resume to West Coast, Texas, Carolinas, anywhere a little bit warmer. And then that's what kind of led me into the mortgage industry. So I ended up kind of doing this thing all over again. I accepted a job in Houston, Texas, uprooted myself from Pittsburgh, where I've only been out a year, just started to meet people, get a grasp. But I was like, I found this other opportunity. Basically on LinkedIn, I was a sucker. It was just an ad that said, you can make $100,000, click here. I didn't know what I was applying for, man. Yeah. The guy flew me out for an interview. The interview went well. It's a mortgage call center. And that's how I got into mortgage, man, in Houston, Texas. I went out there and I was out there for about a year.
I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. I totally forgot.
So it was probably, one of the shadiest shops you could ever work in for mortgages. And it was like the best and worst thing that happened to me. So talk about the struggle. I literally went out there, obviously didn't know anyone all over again.
And your roommate did not go, or it was literally...
Roommate did not go, but get this. One of my college buddies was looking for someplace to go. I'm like, hey, I'm going to Houston. He's like, oh, that sounds cool. So my buddy Brock from St. Bonaventure actually moved out to Houston. I was there probably for a couple months before he got there, but he actually moved out. And so I knew one person in Houston as well, right? And then just dove right into mortgages, man. And it was a straight call center. I mean, 12 to 14 hours a day. You're eating your dinner there. You're eating your breakfast there. I would go in at 6, 7 a.m., would not leave till 10, 11 p.m. I don't even work that much anymore.
Yeah. How many people were in the call center with you?
When we first started, I mean, there was probably a total of 15 to 20 employees, and we actually kind of grew it, moved into a larger location, and probably got up to maybe 30 at one point. But I mean, it's you're literally just smiling and dialing all day long, throwing crap against the wall and seeing what sticks. I didn't know what a mortgage was. And I'm saying, yeah, you're pre-approved, you're pre-approved, you're pre-approved. And half the people wouldn't qualify. That was the kind of environment I was in. I would probably tell 2 to 3 families a week they couldn't close on the home I qualified them for. So it was literally the worst experience ever, but it made me learn so quick.
Sure.
My buddy Brock's mom came out to visit us one day, or one weekend, and the first thing she says to me, she's like, Kev, you look skinny. I'm like, just working a lot, Mrs. Thomas, and I had lost 30 pounds at one point, man, from stress. I'll never forget one lunch I came home and literally cried. I was like, I can't take this. And I'm not a crier. I'm not, but I came home and just cried, put my face in the pillow, sucked it up, went back and went back to work. So it was a crazy, crazy experience.
So whenever you're going through that whole emotional thing, is that you just realized that you probably took at that point you took the wrong job, you trusted the wrong person, and it was a swift taste of reality of what people were like.
Yep. Back was against the wall, and a couple of my mentors actually told me not to take the job. My own father told me not to take the job. A lot of people told me I was making the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. And it probably was the biggest mistake, but it was such a stress factor where I was literally on the ground getting stomped out every single day and just protecting my head, but it just caught, when you're pushed to that limit, I mean, you learn so quickly because you have to adapt, you have to survive, you're going to drown or you're going to get up.
Were you making any money at the time?
I was starting to get a taste of it. I think my first year in mortgage, probably 70,000 or something, which was good. They advertised 100,000. The money that they advertised came to fruition, but I wasn't anywhere nearly mentally prepared for the commitment. I went into this job saying, hey, Angelo, everything looks great, but what'd you say about the PTO policy again? Yep. Do we get 2 weeks vacation? I was still in that corporate mentality, and I wasn't mentally prepared for what I was about to step into. No way.
Yeah, dude, that's the crazy thing, how those situations kind of open the door for other things. And every decision that I've been in with business, you look at it and sometimes you make the wrong one that ends up being the right one too.
Right.
And I guess that's how you have to approach things, is every situation that you run into, you always kind of have to figure out how do you turn that negative into a positive, and realize that situation is purely just the reality of your life at that point. It's not permanent. It's not forever. But it's you have to take something and learn from that experience in some capacity.
Right.
And I would assume you probably learned a boatload in that time frame.
Yeah, and in the moment, it just hurt the entire time. I wasn't like, now I'm constantly, working on mental strength and podcasts, books, entrepreneurs, like really training your mind. I wasn't training my mind as much then. So it's just like constant hurt. Now looking back on it, I would never, ever, ever, ever be where I am today if I didn't go through all that pain and hurt and suffering and just sacrifice. I didn't have any friends, didn't talk to anyone. All I did was learn a craft for a year. And it's, 12 to 14 hours was Monday through Friday. Saturday was typically 9 to about 5 or 6, and Sunday was about like 9 to 5 as well. And first 3 months in mortgage at this shop, I didn't take a single day off. But then 3 months in, I was his number one guy.
Yep.
So like, it was like, you ate shit, you like got shit on, it sucked. But there's only one way to go. If you keep working hard, you don't give up.
Yeah. So everything that experience-wise that you run into, and I think there's so many people out there that get themselves in situations like that, and it could be a relationship, it could be a school situation, it could be a million different things, and you're constantly tested as a human. And I always say, if you live to 150 to 200 years, you're never going to stop learning who you are.
Right.
And you're never going to stop getting better. And that's what's crazy about those situations. A lot of people go through difficult times, and whatever that situation is ends up building their character. It sharpens another tool for the future. It makes your strength grow in a capacity that you never realized you actually have. And I think too, as you grow in life, as you age, you start understanding things naturally different. Some people have the ability to learn at an earlier age. Some people, it takes them a lot longer, and some people never understand that.
Right.
And I think that's what's the beauty about this too, is the world that we live in and navigating every single thing that we go through. Not everybody's meant to be in this role or this role or this role. Everybody kind of pieces things together in order to figure out how they fit in, and really what makes them tick every single day.
Right.
So it's crazy when you break things down in scenarios, and I struggle to understand why people would take something like that and bitch or moan about it and complain. Right. Because that doesn't get you anywhere. Right.
Well, it's Will Smith is one of my favorite quotes. It's like, fail forward, fail often, whatever, and it's just, you have to find a way to embrace failure, even though it just hurts so bad in the moment. If you're mentally prepared for that, you're just going to pull so much out of that experience. The problem is most people, they like touch failure and they run the other way. So for you to catapult in your business, you got to bust the door down, run at failure. And that's the hardest thing. And I think there's a lot of things that separate people, but I feel like a common trait we have in common is we will run at failure, and guess what? We're going to learn and always move forward. A lot of people, they touch it and they run the other way, And
I think how I look at it, which we're probably the same on this too, is there's nothing I really don't think I could do.
Right.
If I have my mind set on something, it may not be a straight path, which it's probably not going to be a straight path to get there. Within reason, I'm never going to be a professional athlete. I'm never going to be a movie star. And I don't have any interest either. But I think it's one of those things that I'm so confident in my ability to want to learn.
Sure.
It's not an arrogance thing. It's not a look at me thing. It's I want to learn and I want to fail. Because when you do fail, it builds you up, and it equips you with stuff that you never realized you could handle. Right. And it shows you the power of mental strength too.
That's the most important thing, man. I think is the mental strength and fortitude to be able to handle those tough situations, because most people fold up.
Yeah. So what were you at that time in your life, right? I was mentally very weak. Same thing. It was just, I was going through medical sales, trying to figure out how much money can I make, because that's all that matters. Right. So I thought, right. And were you doing anything to strengthen the mental side? Were you, or were you just kind of living life trying to just plug away and figure it out?
I was definitely just plugging away, and probably 3 months in, my boss at the time, I mean, he was actually really good at mental strength. This guy was so like dialed in to a unhealthy level that I don't envy. But I mean, I remember like at one point, like as I grew in that branch, we were doing Tony Robbins audio tapes in his office. Like this mofo was brainwashing us like soldiers. But we were doing that. That's where I probably got my first taste of like okay, you control the thoughts in your mind kind of things through Tony Robbins. So that's where I first got introduced, and then it kind of just blossomed, from there. Just kept learning more, reading more, trying tactics, and just trying to keep leveling up as we kind of went along.
And you were actually reading books back then. You were trying to educate yourself at that point, or that was the start of it?
That was the start of it. At that time, I mean, he would like shut off our computers, make us sit in his office for 30 minutes to an hour to listen to Tony Robbins. Like, there was no time for anything other than loans for the most part. So like, if I had a free 4 hours on a Sunday, man, I was not reading. I was like napping. Yep. So it did not. I was not reading anything then until once I ended up moving back to Pittsburgh. Once that event occurred, that's kind of when I really started to focus on myself, read a book a month, get the audio tapes going at the gym kind of thing.
So how you're in Houston, you go there, start hustling with this gentleman, you come back to Pittsburgh. How long after you were there?
I made it out in Houston for just about a year.
Okay.
The lease was turning up, and I'm like, man, Houston was hot.
Yep.
So, I wanted a warmer climate. Yeah, I got it, man.
So that's what pushed you out of there too?
Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't the work thing at all?
It was partly the work thing. I realized Houston was really far from family. I was used to 3 hours from, the Buffalo area to Pittsburgh. Houston, I mean, you're halfway across the United States. And the weather, I did realize I wasn't a cowboy. You go out, man, I had a polo shirt on. These guys would be having monster trucks, cowboy boots, cowboy hats. Nothing against them, but that wasn't my...
It's not you.
Oh, yeah. I didn't fit in out there, man. So we kind of turned it back into Pittsburgh. And when I was moving back to Pittsburgh, some more friends, moved to Pittsburgh. So I knew a little bit more people. I had my initial contacts from when I first was living out in Pittsburgh. And the plan was I went to my boss in Houston. I was like, hey, I'm going back. I need to be closer to home. I like Pittsburgh as a city. He's like, all right, cool. You can be a remote kind of branch for us. No problem. So I actually stayed under him for a couple months in Pittsburgh and just kind of brought the computers back and whatnot. And then it finally hit a certain point where I'm a year in, starting to figure out the industry, and I realized there's other opportunities out there. And eventually that's kind of what had connected me to movement. Funny story with how I got connected with movement was I was actually messaging the CEO, Casey Crawford, who is probably one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life, and entrepreneur, business mind, motivator, guy's unbelievable. And I saw an ad for Movement on Facebook or something. I started researching the company, and I was having a bad day at work out in Houston. I just messaged him like some long BS about how I'm about to move back to Pittsburgh. Got two of my best friends with me. We're doing a lot of loans. Like, you should look at us. Dude never responded. And then I followed up with him like 2-3 months later. I was like, hey, Case, like, I'm serious about this, man. Like, I don't know why I'd ever think a CEO of this huge mortgage company would ever respond. Long story short, he ended up responding and flew me and my two friends, Greg and Ryan, down to their headquarters to interview with them. And that's kind of where it all kind of Movement and us and Pittsburgh all kind of came to fruition. So
where are their headquarters?
Charlotte, North Carolina. So Movement is actually the #1 purchase lender in North and South Carolina. So they're a massive entity. They were founded in 2008, and they came in 2008. That was when the market was upside down from the crash. People were getting out of mortgages, and Casey Crawford looked at it as an opportunity. He's like, hey, this is a great time to get in and do mortgages the right way. We're in a financial world that's full of hurt. It's full of people doing bad things. We're going to do it the right way, and we're going to be really good at it. He went into Charlotte, which is banking headquarters of the world, Bank of America. I mean, all these banks, Wells Fargo, are down there, and within 5-6 years, he's #1 in market share for purchase mortgages. So I was like, this guy's got it figured out. I think I can, if I can copy him a little bit, I think I'll be all right.
Yeah. So he flies you down to North Carolina and you talk to him, and where does the conversation lead?
Yeah. So it's funny. So I'm with Greg McBride and Ryan Carney, two of my guys, good friends from home and everything. And we're interviewing, they're taking us through the ranks of Movement, like marketing, IT, Casey, just every HR, every department about Movement, support, underwriting. And we're in this meeting at the end, and Casey comes in and sits down with us, and we're with a couple other people. And, I didn't want it, like, I was sold like the second I walked in, but I didn't want to portray that. So I'm sitting there saying like, Case, we're considering you as a suitor, but I think like we have some other options and stuff. And like, here's our production laid out. Here's what we did. Like, we're going to talk to a couple other people. And like Greg underneath the table's kicking me like, shut up, Kev. Like, shut up. What do you mean you're about to ruin this for us? Like, why are you telling the CEO, like, you're not about to be in with him? And then the craziest part about this story is we were working in an online lead center. Okay. Based out of Houston, Texas. So the branch in Houston was providing us all of our leads. We're just dialing every day, even though we were still in Pittsburgh. Movement's model does not provide any online leads. It's all self-sourced, meaning you have to bring in the referrals. So we're sitting there showing them proof of production, and it's decent. They're like, all right, these guys are young, they have energy, they're going to be profitable. Like we'll give them a chance. What we didn't tell them was that, all of that was from the online leads, and we will no longer have those if we come on a movement. So we get out of that meeting, and we ended up obviously accepting and coming on. And then we sat down, and Greg and Ryan both lived with me at the time. We had a house we were renting on Pius Street in the Slopes, and we sat down. We're like, boys, we got to figure out how we're going to bring these loans in, because we don't have these leads anymore. So that's how it all started.
So let's backtrack just a second and kind of, as soon as you go and meet with Casey, whenever you go meet with Casey and you sit down there, you show up at this building where their headquarters are, and you look at everything. You're just coming off of an experience that was completely the opposite.
Right.
Now you're going to this other place, and you're like, wow, this could be an opportunity for me. This could be huge. This feels like home.
Right.
This feels right. I'm sure those were all the things you instantly, just because you've seen the other side of it.
Right.
And then you're seeing the complete other end of the spectrum. It sounds like as soon as literally day one, minute one of meeting everybody at Movement Mortgage.
Exactly. It was a complete 360. My prior boss, it was more like almost you're taking advantage of the client. You didn't feel good about doing business in his model. In Casey's model, 50% of Movement's profits are sent into the foundation. Casey gave away $200 million last year to charity. And our first sentence in the mission statement is, we exist to love and value people. Casey's teamed up with LeBron James, Nike. My 6 month with the company, I was on a mission trip to Guatemala. Casey's purpose to start this mortgage company was to serve the greater good. And it wasn't about him enriching himself and buying 18 vacation homes, which a lot of these CEOs are doing of these mortgage companies that had their best year ever last year. Casey's giving stroking a check for $200 million.
So let's before we kind of dive deeper, let's backpedal and dive into that, because a lot of the people that listen to this are business owners, entrepreneurs, people that are interested in self-improvement, all that other stuff. And the one thing that I think two things that I think are really important in what you said. Number one is serving other people, taking care of other people, and really putting other people before you guys, right? I think that's something that I've done from the beginning, was always wanted to be in a charitable situation to help other people, not because I wanted accolades for it, not because I wanted people I didn't care if anybody knew or not. I just wanted to help people.
Sure.
And I think there's something there that is so much more valuable in business than people really understand, the power of helping people. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a huge testament to the success of that. And you mentioned earlier, you're coming, 2008, 2009 timeframe when everything first started. You had people across the country that were probably killing themselves,
100%,
losing family members, losing jobs, losing everything that they worked 60, 70 years of their life, and now it's gone.
Right.
And that shows you the other end of that mentality as well, is that there are certain people out there that you're always going to run to in business that don't have the best intentions.
Sure.
It's very, very hard to figure that out. It's very, very difficult to figure that stuff out. And that's why you always have to proceed with caution and optimism at the same time, and really protect yourself. So as you start getting into Movement Mortgage, you start understanding what's happening. You start getting a feel for the culture. You take a mission trip to Guatemala, you said. All those things that's time out of your personal day that you can have, right? Those are, hey, there's this company event. Do people really want to go? A lot of people don't want to do those things.
Right.
But it sounds like it just felt natural. It sounds like you got the spirit of the company and you were all in right out of the gate.
100%. And it was just something different that was out there. In the mortgage industry, everyone's just focused on the bottom line, bottom line, go do another loan. You're as good as your last month mentality. Movement was just different. And it's because Casey Crawford purely, eventually he hit his place of financial freedom. And even before he did that, I mean, he was always putting others first. And it's just so rare to find that in business. And then this guy, like, he just attracted so many people because it's real. When that is real, you don't have to sell. You're going to attract everything. So now it's like we're teamed up with John Maxwell. John Maxwell does our coaching programs, and him and Casey, talk about leadership and how to grow companies. Like, it's just, you just find yourself with the right people if you're putting others first before the P&L.
So so you get on with Movement. 6 months in, you're doing mission trips, all that other stuff. At this point, you have your own branch of Movement. Where does the whole Pittsburgh market come from with you?
Yeah. So once again, it all started with Greg McBride and Ryan Carney. And basically, I just kept hiring my friends. So when I was out in Texas, Ryan Carney was one of my good friends from home that I played hoops with. He came out, worked as my assistant, learned the mortgage industry. Then he learned enough to go on his own and sell. Greg McBride came on board. I used to work with him at the old bank in New York, and I just kind of kept hiring my friends, which was awesome to kind of start it there. And then we just started knocking on doors. I mean, we didn't have leads anymore, so we would show up at open houses. Like, all of our business for Movement Mortgage comes from real estate agents for the most part. We didn't have a past book of clients. Like, for a loan officer, your business comes from past clients, family. We didn't have any in Pittsburgh. And real estate agents, home builders, financial planners, CPAs, that kind of thing. We just didn't have a network yet. So we just went on complete sell mode, get out there, shake hands, meet people, build relationships. And then it just blossomed. Then we started attracting loan officers from other companies that saw, how we did things, and they would come on board. So within the first year or 2 years, we got a lot of no's, right? A lot of no's, but it just started blossoming because we were doing things the right way. And I think it came down to the energy we had and the unique selling proposition that we had. Because at the end of the day, you could have the best unique selling proposition that there is, but if you're not bringing the energy and the confidence with it, it doesn't matter how good the product is or whatever. So once you combine energy and confidence with that unique selling proposition, the unique selling proposition that we had was our average close time at Movement was like 15 days. In Pittsburgh, it was 60 days.
It's massively different.
We came into a very old marketplace, and we were kind of like this tech company that could move quick and make changes quick. And real estate agents, like, they want to close quick. Buyers want to close quick for the most part. So we kind of came in with that unique selling proposition, and we just started one realtor, one client, one loan at a time mentality, boots on the ground, and it sucked. I have loan officers call me every other day, like, how'd you do it? And I was like, you see these fucking gray hair? Like, this sucked,
Sure. Yeah. So for you three are the first three of Movement in Pittsburgh.
Right. Yep.
And your number one, it seemed like, was first. It got do you have a contract in the area? Do you have a certain territory? How does that work?
Good question. So no contract, no territory at all. And that's, I think, what makes our story the most unique is most of these lending companies have like contracts with real estate offices where they go to the broker owner and they're like, hey, let's do a marketing agreement. I'll pay your rent. I'll pay you 5 G's towards marketing. You got to have my business cards in the front window. Brokers getting that money, and then brokers putting pressure on the agents to use a specific lender. We didn't have anything like that. We didn't have any handouts, no contracts with anything. It was all purely referral based on, we had to perform. Which it led to a lot of stress and pressure. But I'm so glad it happened that way, because if I was in my hometown and started this business, I would never be where I'm at today, because I had all these connections laid out, and it makes you lazy to agree. I had to fight for every single loan that was ever given to me. Yeah,
it puts a different taste in your mouth, and it satisfies a different hunger for success when you're literally up against the wall, right? And you realize that the only way to get there is to climb and climb and climb, knowing that you're going to put your hand on a rock that's going to fall. You're going to put your foot on a ledge that's going to slip. And there's no way around that.
Right.
And I think we're groomed in a society where I think people tend to get a little bit softer than they've been before. And I think that the handouts and I think the coddling of people is going to be a big problem as society progresses, because you're not justifying and you're not helping anybody get through life that way. Because I don't care what it is, there's illnesses that happen, there's car accidents, there's family issues, there's a pandemic that could happen. There's so many outliers that just randomly happen that you have no control about. And your job as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a visionary is to figure out a way around something.
Right.
So there's a reason that 95% of businesses and small businesses fail within 5 years, and then another 90% fail within the next 2 after that. Right. Because it's fucking really hard.
It's really hard.
You have to be a little crazy to put up with this stuff too. Because you're doing things that you're not groomed by society for them to be normal.
Right. It's sacrifice. You're not going to happy hour at 5 p.m. You're not hanging out with friends on the weekend. You're mastering your craft. And I feel like you have to be a little bit of a psycho to master your craft at anything to hit that top 1% level. Yep. And I think that one of the craziest experiences for me that I wasn't prepped for, man, was once we started to do well, like we were doing well, we had a great process. We're helping clients. We're helping realtors get their offers accepted that they normally wouldn't get accepted if they didn't use us. Like we were starting to have success, right? I could not believe the amount of people, like other people that didn't even know me, other competitors, lenders that would just be making up pure lies to try to knock us down because they didn't know how to run with us. They're saying, oh, Movement has the highest rates in Pittsburgh. Oh, that Kevin over there, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's only been doing this a year. Oh, their upfront underwriting is fraudulent and like everything in the book, man. And I'm like, some of these people, they'd be messaging me on LinkedIn talking junk to me. I'm just like, I just started printing them out. And it's like, what? I would never go out of my way to tear someone down. I'm like, and I've never had someone like come at me in that way. I was in a small town garden, played high school sports, small college, never really felt attacked. And I got straight up attacked in Pittsburgh by some of these competitors. And that to me was like an oh shit moment. But I loved it because then I'm like,
oh, let's go.
I'm already motivated enough now. Now for the most part, I'm beating every single one of them in every category of everything other than one guy who I will beat this year. So it's like, I print all that stuff out, put it on my wall, and guess what? Now I'm coming for you. I'm not going to say anything to you. Unless I had one guy that really came at me that I had to call out and blast him on social media over a blatant lie. Because it's like, it gets to a point where if someone's putting you on blast on social with complete, utter lies, it's like, okay, you kind of have to address some of it. For sure. But other than that, man, just the motivation that came from that was just next level.
So that's another good thing for us to kind of dissect and talk about, because it's very hard to deal with that, right? Mm-hmm. I'm pissed because I have 30,000 photos in my phone, which sucks. And I had a folder saved in my iPhone that was social media slander. And I saved it. And then at some point I was going through and I was just mass selecting all my screenshots, and I wiped all of them out except like 2. But every time something would come in, I'd screenshot it, I'd slide it in, and I'd save it. And then I thought about it, and it was the same type of person that consistently, it was a different person every time, but it was the same mentality of an individual. Right. And that's hard to deal with at first. It really is. And I've become numb to it because I just don't give a shit what anybody thinks of me. But until you get to that point, it's hard.
It hurts, man.
It really does.
As a human being, you want to be accepted. You want to be appreciated. You want to be loved and cared for. And to have someone blatantly attack you for no reason other than whether it's they're jealous or they just don't know what else to say, it's like, you'd never think people are that cruel, but unfortunately, as I've seen, those people are out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of negativity and a lot of negative-minded individuals out there. And the one thing that I've learned through that whole experience was those people that typically have something negative to say about you, typically want to slander you, whatever the situation is, talk bad about you to strangers, talk bad about you to people they know, they're not happy with who they are. Right. And you actually have to feel bad for people like that. And that's what I've groomed myself to understand is like, okay, cool. If you have a problem with me, look, I treat people well. I'm not rude to anybody.
Right.
If you're a dick to me, I'm going to come back and squash you for sure, but I'm not going to go out of my way to hurt anybody.
Right.
I'm actually going to go out of my way to be the polar opposite and help anybody that really needs help.
Right.
And I've started to understand that you have to just feel bad for people because they look at life differently, their victim mentality, and they're putting you down or saying something negative because they can't win the right way.
Right.
And when you're good at what you do, and this, you said this it was the first thing you talked about, movement and the culture, and you come from this industry where it was some of the slimiest people were selling home loans. And I had a friend of mine that was in the medical sales world that he probably made millions of dollars, but he was a slime bag in medical as well. All the doctors hated working with him, and it was that type of person.
Right.
You're always going to have that. But the thing that you guys built based off of the mindset, the aura, everything about the company was just being a good person.
Right.
That's the simplest way to break down why you're successful.
Right. Doing business the right way and doing what you say you're going to do, and just respecting people and delivering on what your promise is. Like, most people don't do and have a really hard problem doing that, especially in business. So it's like you set an expectation. How do you exceed that expectation? That's all we wrapped our mind around when we kind of came into this marketplace. And that's what's catapulted us, man. I don't have the almanac with me, but I don't know if anyone actually tracks the specific stats on this, but in the purchase marketplace in Allegheny County, we finished number 7 last year. And I mean, we're talking like PNC, Dollar Bank, Wells Fargo, some homegrown like mortgage brokers that have been here for 20 years. We came into the top 10 just like that because we did stuff the right way.
Yep.
That's it. And we work hard.
So whenever you came in with movement in Pittsburgh, and you mentioned the first 2 years was very difficult. You hear a lot of no's, right? You're getting answers and information that you just don't want to hear, because at that point, every dollar matters, right? And then as you get more successful in business, every dollar doesn't matter.
Right.
The right dollar matters, and that's a whole different ball game to play. You start, when I sold suits when I started, we had a Chinese line that we used, and we carried it manufactured in China. Product was average. It was good, but it wasn't great. It was good enough to try to build a company off of and start there. And, I was selling suits at the very beginning, month 1, month 2 for $500 or $400, making nothing on them.
Right.
My goal was to just get product out. So I knew when I started my business was, okay, here's the idea. I need to get bodies wearing my product.
Right.
That's the only way this is going to happen. I have no name, I have no credibility, and I don't even know how to measure a suit. So this is going to be a long haul, right? So I started just building that. Hey, do you want a suit? No, I'm cool. I'm good. Wait, you sell suits? Dude, you're in medical sales. Like, what is this, just a side hobby?
Right.
Dude, go sell something else. Go sell knives, right? So those are all things that you battle, and I'm sure the same thing for you. You're a new mortgage company at that point. You're up and coming. People were saying this guy's only been doing it for a certain amount of time. How do you deal with that?
It's hard, man. I think the biggest thing is being a master of your craft. So like the only thing that you can offset that criticism with is like, okay, well, here's what separates me. And for us, we got with a company that would pre-underwrite the file. So the way the mortgages work in the area is you go to a loan officer, they give you a pre-approval or pre-qualification. That's a best guess on what a loan officer thinks you qualify for. Depending on how good your loan officer is, maybe they're right 90% of the time, maybe only 50% of the time. So in our situation, we're like, hey, we're going to take you to the decision maker now. We're not guessing. So it doesn't matter how long, I've been doing this for. You're going directly to the underwriter, which was a completely foreign process. Because in Pittsburgh, the way it had worked, you don't see the underwriter until you have an accepted offer on a home. So we'd have these clients where they got a bad pre-approval, went out, thought everything was good. They put an offer on a home for $400,000. They're pre-approved up to $400,000. Well, now that they have the accepted offer, Dollar Bank or whomever sends it to the underwriter. Underwriter says no. And then its deal's done. So we're saying to these real estate agents and clients, hey, we're getting you to the underwriter now. It doesn't matter how long we've been doing this. You're going right to the decision maker. So that was what helped us a lot to deal with the inexperience. But then it came to a point too, like, how are you connecting with the client? What value are you adding? I think that's the biggest thing is like, what value are you adding to the real estate agent? Are you helping them grow their agent? Because if you are adding value, people will want to refer you regardless of how long you've been doing it. If you take care of their client, do a good job, whether you've been doing it 10 years or 2 months, it's all about the value being added and the confidence that you will take care of the client to get that referral.
So another question mindset wise is, you deal with real estate agents, obviously. There's a lot of them.
Yep.
And some have great relationships with some banks, some loan officers, all that other stuff. Mindset from a standpoint of, real estate agent A, you find out they're giving you business, then they give someone else business.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle that situation? Where does your mind go? Because I have something I want to ask you that's pretty important on that.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where to me it comes back to just adding the proper value to the real estate agent or whoever your target market is, because no matter what, if you're doing enough for that person, they're going to want to work with you. They shouldn't be forced. If you're improving their life, whether it's their client, whether it's them, you will get the referral. And I think that applies across any business. And I know Benny, who was on here a couple weeks ago, raving fans. How do we create a raving fan for the real estate agent, the client? Who's our target market? Like, how do we create raving fans on every transaction? And I think if you take that mentality, you're going to gain the referral.
Yep. So why I asked that is, actually, we had a guy today call about getting suits and hey, I'm, moving to Pittsburgh. I'm, climbing the ladder in this business that I'm in. And, I'm interested in getting suits, but it's between you and two other companies. I'm like, hey, here's where we are. Here's the price. Here's the process. That's all I got for you.
Right.
No, we don't have bundles. No, we don't have discounts. No, we don't do this. Our price is what our price is,
right,
because we provide a service as well.
Right.
Are we perfect? No. Do I think we're good? Yeah. Do I think we're really good? At times. Can we be better? Absolutely. We're always working to get better, and that's just us trying to grow as individuals. I've had some, clients that used to purchase from me, and when I would go and potentially at my growth stage in the business, I almost had to sell my house 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
And and then it was like, hey, you use me for selling my house, or use me for selling my house, and obviously I never sold it. But I lost a couple of friends along the way because I didn't reach out to them. Right. And it's like, my mindset is this. Look, I am who I am. I have a product. If you want to buy and support, buy because you want to support and buy
right,
because you want the product.
Right.
Don't buy because you have expectations of anything in return.
Right. That's
not why you buy. Now, do you hedge your bet and say, hey, if I buy off this person, there's probably a benefit there? Of course.
Sure.
That's just called being good at business and understanding life. So I'm assuming why I was kind of asking that question is, if someone ends up using you or doesn't use you, and there's always the opportunity for that to come full circle where they're going to come back into your life.
Yeah. Well, I think some people out there will look at every business relationship as like a dollar bill rather than, hey, do I like this guy? Hey, do I trust this guy? Hey, do I like this guy's product? You can't look at every relationship as what's in it for me. You at some point in time, it's like, hey, I work with David Allen because I like the dude. He's a hard worker. I relate to him and I like his product. Am I going to take a referral from David Allen? Hell yeah, I'll take a referral from David Allen, but I'm not gonna hate David Allen because I didn't get a referral from him. And I think it's hard because there's a fine line. I think, in sales, your back's against the wall. You got to get that next deal to feed your family. And if you're supporting someone's business, like sometimes you have to have the conversation to be like, hey man, like, hey, if I wash windows, like, let me wash your windows, David Allen. I bought a suit off you. Like, at some point you have to, if you never ask, you're never going to receive. But I feel like there's a super fine line of, you can't go into every relationship saying what's in it for me.
Right.
Then, because it's almost not a true relationship at that point. I feel like in business relationships, you have to start with, hey, do I like you? Hey, do I trust you? And I have so many real estate agents out there, man. Probably once a week, I get a call where a real estate agent wants me to pay for something, and I don't even know who they are. And it's like, well, no. I don't pay for things for people I've worked with for 15 years. People use me because I'm the best at what I do. I'm going to take care of your clients. They're going to close and they're going to be happy because you referred them to me. So I think it's like battling some of that away. And you find out that once you get to a certain point, you're truly going to work with people you like and trust. And then the rest is just easy.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it too, man, it comes down to timing with a lot of things. And, a lot of it is, hey, out of sight, out of mind. A lot of it is, hey, I'm seeing this person more. We're meeting for coffee. We're meeting for lunch. Of course, that person's going to be in the top of my mind for something. And I think at the end of the day, when you build quality people around in your life and you constantly keep good people in your life that are going to always do good things, I'll just open up the phone. I got 100 people I could connect you with. It's just who am I thinking about at that time? It doesn't mean I dislike somebody else. It doesn't mean that I've angst against anybody else. It is what it is. But at some point that's going to come back. And, even with me and you, now that I've seen you, a month ago or so, a month and a half ago now today. And then hopefully with the summer and the weather coming out, we'll get to hang out a little bit more. And I want to do more for you and whatnot. But I also know that we have a friendship first. And I hope that I help you, just like I hope people in my network see this and help you and it can grow your business. But I just, at the end of the day, anytime I do something with someone, it's just purely because I want to support them. If something comes back, great. If not, so be it.
Right. Well, I think you get to a certain point in your business where it's nice because you've hit a certain level to where you truly can do business with the people you like and enjoy doing business with. I didn't always have that luxury. You didn't always have that luxury. I'll never forget. One of my coaches at one point told me, if you ever look at your phone and see that phone ringing from a referral source or a business partner and you don't want to answer that phone, you got to cut that source. I had a couple referral sources, man, that would call me. I'd just be like, oh man, it's this person again.
Yep.
And you at the beginning, you got to take that because that's putting bread on the table. But, eventually you can get to a point where it's like, all right, we don't need that.
Yeah. Well, and that's where a lot of the times too, when I was selling the suits for $400 or $500, and they were average quality. Look, man, if someone said, hey, is there a discount? Yeah. How about a free shirt? Now, damn, you just lost money on that suit or that transaction. But at that stage, my priority wasn't making money. It was trying to minimize loss of money and try to make a little bit of money, but I had to build a brand. And then as you get, hey, now you're 2 years in, now you're 3 years in, we got better product. We increased our manufacturing capabilities. The materials we have are nicer. The fit's better. The pattern, all that stuff's improved. Well, guess what? We don't start at $5.99 anymore. We're now at $7.99. And we're thinking about at some point this year or next year bumping that up a little bit and improving our product more. Because not every dollar's worth the fight. I also want clients that are willing to spend or invest money with us for their profession, for their career, because they appreciate what service we're providing. And that's exactly what you just said. You get to a point in business where you've earned that right. And I don't, I want everybody to buy off us. Of course, I want every suit in Pittsburgh, or anywhere, I'd love it to be bought through our clothing brand. I know that's not a reality. It's never going to be a reality. But I also know that we don't need every suit either. Well,
I think that's the key thing you just said is, for us, 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, the first thing out of the client's mouth is what's your rate, what's your fee, what's your price, Price. And price comes into question with 80 to 90% of people when value is missing, So for most people, they're going to appreciate value. They're going to want to work with you because of your service and what you bring to the table. But the people that are going to walk away from using you over, say, 0.1% on an interest rate, and tip to everyone out there, you can always get a lower rate because in our game, hey, take the quote, give it to someone else, and they're going to undercut. With lenders, it's like who gets the last look? You're always going to undercut somebody. But most people see value, and it's just like as you grow your business, you're going to be able to weed out those people that want the discount. Okay, go get the discount, but your process is probably going to be awful. You're not getting an as good product. So it's like, how do you identify those people, and you realize, okay, we're not going to serve everyone.
Well, so I'm in the process now of buying a new car, and I've had the same one for the last 5 years or 6 years. I usually, every 2 years, it's a new car. And then when I started my business, that was not the case. I even tried getting a home through you a couple of years ago. My credit was just terrible. And I was at a point where I just had to accept the fact that I made a business decision that was going to ruin my credit temporarily, and the potential to buy a house or buy a car at that time may have been ruined, and it was. And that was a hard pill to swallow too, because I'm like, man, I got this fashion brand, we're up and coming, we're at that point we were approaching 7 figures a year in annual sales, and then I couldn't get approved for a fucking house. That's a fucking. I
was the bad guy on that one.
but that's what it is though. And I understood what happened there, and I understood the situation. And so why I bring up the car thing is because I talked to a gentleman last week, and I got a referral for this guy. And I said, look, I've bought cars from people in the past, never had a great experience, but I'm willing to buy cars, and I'm willing to buy cars often. I said, here's what I want. I want this car. I want you to just find the car for me, and whatever the price is, you tell me. And I said, I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to try to get more of a discount. All I ask is that you treat me with a fair price, and you take care of me. If I feel that the service is what it was warranted, and you find me a car that I like, I hope that you made money off of me, because that's called good business. And I use that example because everybody, oh, you're going to buy a car, nickel and dime them. No, I'm good. Like I don't, of course I want to save money, but I'm not, if I could save $2,000 for going to this guy versus someone else, I'd rather pay $2,000 more and get better service.
Well, and obviously not everyone thinks that way, but I mean, I feel like most people, they just want to have the confidence that they're not getting fucked. Like, don't fuck me, give me a good deal, give me good service, and I'm a happy camper. And I feel like most of Americans out there are in that position. But when the 80%, aren't getting the value, that's when they begin to question price. So for all the business owners listening to this, the entrepreneurs that are out there, how are you adding value to eliminate? You're never going to eliminate the price concern. You have to have a competitive price, period. But how do you, I feel like you can start to eliminate that price concern more with the more value you add. If you're bringing it to the table, there's less of a chance they're going to hit you on, oh, what's your price? What's this? Can I get a discount?
There's no better feeling than meeting with somebody in any form of business, having a conversation with them, and the price never comes up in conversation. That's a powerful feeling, because then this guy or gal is going to respect me. Now that I know that they have that mindset, I'm going to make their experience 1,000 times better, because they deserve to be treated well. They deserve to have the right experience. And I need to make sure that, hey, this is the price I'm charging them. They expect what they get, and they expect this experience. If I don't, then I failed them. It's hard, dude.
When I feel like more like we're both in businesses where we're almost controlling a client experience, right? We're trying to lay out this experience for our clients that delivers some sort of wow factor. What are you doing to wow your clients? And when you're doing that, it just goes back to, once again, like, they're going to be confident about their purchase, which is going to lead to the less of the price objections.
So, so we'll dive back into your story, kind of progress a little bit more. So you get up in Pittsburgh, you're a couple years in with Movement Mortgage. And, I know we met for coffee a couple years ago. I don't remember exactly when that was.
That was,
17?
I think it was 2017. We met at Starbucks. We were just bouncing ideas and stuff.
That was the first time I actually met you. And I remember we got to talk, and we were just talking about your plans for business. We were just talking about what you had accomplished already at that time frame. And I knew from the minute sitting down with you, I was like, all right, this dude gets the game. And I liked him. I was like, dude, you're a fucking hustler. That's exactly who I want around. And I knew you'd be at this point where you are and continuing to expand and all that other stuff. But so talk to me about, and everybody listening, because this is hard. Talk to me about building the team. In the beginning, you have two of your close friends that you trusted, that they trusted you. That helps immensely. Because in the beginning stages of anything in business, trust is absolutely everything. And also, it works with you having to trust that person you bring on. So the due diligence that you have to do to make sure that person is vetted properly is hard. I've failed at it 18 times.
Well, I think we share that. So when we kind of started up Movement, I was in this role where it's like, okay, go do as many loans as you can and go hire as many people as you can, other loan officers to bring in more loans, right? That's obviously ideal situation for Movement, right? And I started hiring some bad people, and I was hiring these loan officers. I was like, man, this is pretty easy. Like, our process sells itself. It's easy to get people. I was still so young and clueless in the business. And
how long in this is when the expansion starts? After you went to North Carolina and you move forward, and then you have you and your two boys. At that point, moving forward, how long from that did it take to start running into these struggles?
So probably like the first 3 months in, we're just trying to bring our own loans in. And then after that, like, we got to hire some loan officers. So I'm on LinkedIn looking at other banks. What salespeople can we hire? Just start firing messages, man. And we hired a lot of people quickly. But today, from when we first started in Pittsburgh, maybe have like 2 or 3 of the people out of 10 or 15. So like then we got this reputation of like, it's a revolving door over there, which was bad. And I made a lot of hiring mistakes. And then now over the last 2 years, I mean, our staff has barely changed. It's like, we don't have to hire. We're profitable. We don't have to hire. So it's like, is it truly the right fit? So it took us we made a lot of mistakes, a lot of bumps and bruises in that initial startup phase. But now it's like quality over quantity, get the right people, get the right bodies, vet, like you said earlier, really go hard in the vetting process, look at their disc profile,
Which I've never done that, and I need to start doing that because that's incredible.
Disc profile is huge. You can really, if someone completes it the right way and they don't BS it, like you really get a good read on like, are they a salesperson? Are they money motivated? Are they, very good at details? What's going to make them happy and feel accomplished at the end of the day? So that helped us a lot once we figured, that process out. But, man, now we just have such a core group, but it was awful for a while.
Yeah,
it was bad.
So when I started this, my goal was, hey, every city in the country, I want to have 2 to 3, maybe 5 sales reps.
Right.
And I started hiring like a madman, and it was before I even had the process locked down in Pittsburgh. But I would meet with people. I would spend money to fly to a different city. I would interview them. I'd have lunch with them. And then I would pretty much hire everybody right out of the gate. It was so stupid looking back.
I got a body.
And that was so in the beginning stages of business, me, it was the priority and the importance of everything was, can I just get a body? Because that body's going to at least generate 1 suit a month or 2 suits a month. And that's all I need to make this work. Well, then you start realizing, people that have expectations or to make a lot of money with you right out of the gate because you work with celebrities, you work with athletes. It looks on the surface like you don't do anything other than hang out at nice events. Right. It's like that is the furthest thing from what is the actual situation that we have. So I was just hiring anybody that showed any interest. Athlete, cool, you're an athlete. Oh, you're probably a hustler. Got you. Cool. Right. I was wrong. This person, oh, you this is your background. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, for sure. And the biggest mistake that I learned, and I really, really hope that everybody that's listening really takes this to heart: hire slow, fire fast. 1,000% the right way.
Yep, it's funny you say that. One of my former bosses, who's been elevated in the company higher, Mike Brennan, he's the president of Movement Mortgage now. That was one of the first things he said to me: hire slow, fire fast. Once you have that person that is not the fit, you got to cut. You got to go.
And that's hard too, because you as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as somebody that's leading the pack, you want people to succeed. You don't hire somebody because you know that they're going to fail, or you want them to fail. And the problem is that you as the leader, you hope that people care the way that you do, which isn't true. Right. You hope that they're going to put the effort in that you do. They're not. You hope that they want to be a better person. Maybe they're not. Maybe they just want to go and make money and then never talk to you for the hours they don't have to talk to you. And all those are real situations that you actually run into. And I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning because I thought that my motivation and my hustle and my effort really painted a picture of what it's going to take for people to be successful, and it wasn't the case at all.
Right.
And then what happens is you invest time, you invest money, you invest your brand, you invest your name, you invest all these things in all these situations into somebody else. And then after 3 months, 6 months, a year, it fails.
And then they leave, or you have to fire them.
And it's a shitty feeling either way. It really is. And I understand that sometimes people have to leave because the opportunity just doesn't fit, or the next opportunity is a little bit better, but it still sucks.
Right.
And especially when you come from a place internally as being extremely genuine and you want to take care of people. I know that for my entire life moving forward, whoever's with me, whether it's my marketing company, whether it's the suit company at this point, I'm going to take care of whoever's with me.
Right.
And I'm going to make sure that at whatever point it is that we get to where we want to go, they're never going to have to worry financially the rest of their life. And more importantly, they're going to love waking up every single day.
Right.
But to get there, you can't just get there. You have to go through shit. You have to eat shit. You literally live a terrible life for a brief period of time in the scheme of terrible, right?
Right.
It's all perspective when you break this stuff down, but hiring people is very, very hard.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. And, for me, it Movement was putting pressure to hire, loan officers. And what I found out quickly is the loan officers change companies on average probably like every 2 years. It's like, who's the next hot product in town that's going to solve all their problems? You know, it's very common in our industry to see that turnover. So then the next thing I'm thinking is like, okay, you put all this time and effort into hiring these sales folks, and there's low loyalty, you know, at the end of the day. There's high turnover. It's not always high turnover. Like, we've had some people that have been with us for a while, but it's tough, man. That's a tough thing. And then, so I currently have about 10 loan officers, licensed loan officers that I have hired and brought on that I'm responsible for. But then I also have my own team that work on just my loans. So it's like, there's other loan officers that are on their own, but then I have my core team, which has about 7 people on it. And for my core team, I mean, it's some of my guys that have been with me 3-4 years. I mean, I'm constantly focused on them. Like, how can I make their lives better? Like, how can I make sure that they're right in the right frame of mind? Do they see the vision? Are they hooked on the vision? Do they know where I'm trying to go? Do they know that they're going to be taken care of? So I think that's the cool part about, as you build your brand, build your business, you really get to take the right people with you, the people that stick with you through the thick and the thin. It's like, if anyone on my team asked me for a $50,000 check right now and they really needed it and they were hurting, I wouldn't ask why. You know, it's like, get those people, you know? Yep. And I think they know that I would do that for them. And I think that's where a lot of the loyalty and the hard work comes from. And it's just, the hardest part, man, is finding the right people, you know? Finding the right people is the hardest part of any business, I feel like.
How important is company culture to you?
It's huge, man. I think it's like the building a small family, you know. Everyone has each other's backs no matter what. You know, we fail together, we succeed together. And I've seen so many loan officers that I've coached and managed and watched their day-to-day. And as soon as something gets tough or goes wrong, and they're pointing a finger at, oh, it was their fault, or oh, the processor should have done this, or placing blame, that's where I see failure. Like, if you're the leader and you own everything, good and bad, like sometimes, like if it's purely someone else's fault on your team, like you got to have a conversation and get them to take that ownership mentality as well. But at the end of the day, if one of my teammates messed something up on a file, well, why didn't I have a process in place to make sure that didn't happen? So I feel like it's so important on how you lead, because you're not going to get the respect back if you're not leading your team in the right way. Which, to me, if they know you, if my whole team knows I have their back no matter what, that the culture is there just because of that family type atmosphere.
Yeah. So I always equate to, you know, a skyscraper, for instance. If you want to build a skyscraper that's 2 stories tall, 5 stories tall, 10 stories tall, the foundation has to be strong,
right?
But it doesn't have to be incredible. Doesn't have to, you know, sustain winds of 80 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, right? You want to build a 50-story skyscraper, 80-story, 100-story, that foundation better be strong as hell.
Right. And
there's no difference with the company core and the culture of a group or organization, man. One bad seed within a company can ruin a lot.
Yep.
That's what's really hard for me, and it took a lot for me to understand that, because I didn't want anybody to have a bad mindset or attitude, but there were people along the way that, and it may not have even been them being a bad person. Maybe it was just a laziness quality.
Right.
Maybe their priority at that point in life and where they are just wasn't being anything as far as a team player here. Cool, but that damages a lot.
Right.
Simple stuff like that hurts.
When it feeds off other people. So if you have the one bad egg that, you know, is not bringing the right energy, it's rubbing, they're trying to find other people to latch onto to then spread that. Like I had a direct situation where we had that situation, and they're trying to infect other people. And it's like, you got to find that and get rid of it, unfortunately. And it's not just like that one bad fit person, you know, they're not just going to sit there and complain about it themselves. They're going to try to spread it.
Yeah. I had a situation, this was like 2 years ago. I was dating a girl, and she became friendly with Krista, who works with me, and Krista's incredible. She's one of my best friends. I've known her like 9 years now. She's my right hand. She's awesome. And that person just kept saying, you know, David doesn't treat you well. David, you know, I see the way he does this or does that, and you know, he talks to you like he shouldn't talk to you. And you know, I had to talk to Krista, and I was like, you know what? Like, everything that I say and do is in the best interest of you. I'm always respectful. Right. I always hustle. I always make sure you're taken care of, and I always make sure you don't worry. And it took a little bit of her to step back and realize what was happening, because it was starting to damage a little bit of this business.
Right.
And I said, look, you can come and work with me, and that's fine, and you can make a decent living and live a happy life, and cool, it is what it is. Or I can hold you accountable because I know how good you are.
Right.
And I can hold you accountable. I know what potential you have. And I also, at some point, want to give the keys to the car to somebody else.
Right.
I have other stuff that I want to do that I'm doing now, and I'm spread very thin. So the day-to-day for me to measure every single person is gone. I just can't do it. I don't have the time, which is why every lead that comes in now, Krista takes.
Right.
Now, she's making a shit ton of money because she's working with every client that we have. People that want to work with me, and I appreciate the fact that they're willing to work with another stylist or another teammate. But look, I tell her, and we were talking earlier today, there was a mistake that was made, and she's like, hey, this is on me. Like, you already taught me this stuff. And then to your point, I'm like, shit, it's my fault actually, because I should have fixed this somehow.
Right.
And as you're talking, I'm like, okay, I should probably do this, this, and this. So now my mind's already thinking of how can I improve to make sure that situation doesn't happen again.
Right.
And that's me wanting to get better at that. And thankfully she's got the right mindset to want to continue to grow as a person. Because it's hard. Like, hey, look, I have expectations.
Right.
And if you don't meet those, you're going to hear from, and I'm going to be respectful. But I told her today, I said, look, do you want to be great or do you want to be fucking incredible?
Right.
That's the difference.
Right.
You could be great and live a good life. Cool. But we're not, that's not the direction I want to go.
Right. And I think it's having those tough conversations to figure out the root of, like, what is someone, where are they really trying to perform? So like on our team, it's like a step ladder. It's like, the income that's here as the lowest pressure, responsibility. Income that's here, a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more pressure. Income that's, you know what I mean? So like that's how my team is set up, and two of my partners that are my lifelines, Dave and Greg. I mean, they take a lot of pressure and they have a big responsibility, but their pay is in line with those expectations. And we sit down and we talk about it all the time. It's like, guys, I mean, here's what you need to do if you want to make this. If you want to make this, I can lighten the load. Just tell me when. Yep. But guess what? They don't want to lose that income. Yep. So it's like figuring out, like, and then also I think a lot of it, man, is pulling the potential out of them. And I think that's one of the gifts that I have, is like, I see that so much potential in people. It's like, how can we pull that out of you? Like, you can do it. I know you can do it, but how do you get that person to believe that they can move forward and accomplish those goals? Just like you mentioned with Chris, like, hey, you're here, but you want to be fucking great? All right, well, here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to be here, and I'm going to push you along. But I think a lot of people need that. Me and you, we're self-starters. We're going to go get it. No one has to tell us to wake up in the morning like we're going to go. But sometimes every now and then people need that, someone else to pull that potential out of them.
Which also another thing as a business owner is figuring that out and understanding that, because it's hard. Sometimes I catch myself, hey, be patient.
Right.
Be patient. And Krista and I, whenever she first came on board, and I remember she randomly called me. We were hanging out at my house one time. I was sitting on my deck, and we were talking about business, and she was talking about something she was going through at her last job. And we always talked for years about her coming and working with me. And this was fall of 2019. And we were sitting there, and I was like, yeah, one day we're going to work together. It's going to be cool. And we were talking. I was like, not everybody's meant to be a number one.
Right.
Not everybody's meant to be a number two. Not everybody's meant to be a number three. The benefit of business and the benefit of life is finding where you fit into that role.
Right.
You could still make a shit ton of money at number two, number three, number four, number five. All these positions are needed. And then, call it a month after that, she called me the next day. She goes, hey, I quit my job. I'm coming to work with you. I was like, okay, now I got to figure out how I'm going to pay you. But again, it goes back to the trust. It goes back to the vision of all those things. So I love the mindset that you have, man. Everything that you've done is just, it's incredible. It's motivating. Dude, every time I see you're doing something and we're talking, prior to this about some things you're personally getting into, I love it. And it makes me want to go home and be like, dude, you better step it up.
Right.
Like, there's other people that are doing successful things, and I'm happy with where I am, but now I want to be better.
Right.
And it's little stuff like that motivates me. So as you're building the team, as you're building the culture, I see you start, drafting out the quarterly books or monthly books that you're doing. We talked earlier, you're starting a podcast at some point soon. You're doing stuff different from a business standpoint that's thinking outside the box. Let's kind of walk down that hole here in a second.
Sure. So, and it kind of like what I spoke about earlier is like in Pittsburgh, it's such a old school, historic, just behind the times. Is these lenders, it's just the average age of a loan officer, I think, is like 50 years old or something. So it's like, what can we keep doing to separate ourselves? And I think it just comes back to like, add so much value that everyone is going to want to work with you. Maybe not everyone. We talked about that earlier as well, but it's like, how can I add so many pluses, to my target audience, to my referral sources? Because I do truly care about them. I truly want to help them. And then I like doing it. And then I realize it all comes back. So it's like some of the stuff that we're doing is, we have a monthly agent mastermind books, which is it's a sometimes 40-page playbook that we interview the top real estate agents across the country, and we put ideas in there every single month, and we mail it directly to their house. I mean, there's no one in Pittsburgh that does that besides Movement Mortgage. And
is there a fee or anything for that, or how does that work?
There's no fee. It's like, you get on our mailing list, we're sending it out. We want to add value to your business. A couple of other things that we're doing right now is we're going to roll out a podcast, and it's all going to stem off of this monthly mastermind playbook. Before COVID, I would do events. I was trying to do events once a month where I'd bring in speakers. I would speak about a book. We would cover topics, have top real estate agents share, their thoughts and what has made them successful. So we've always been about like, how can I give you one idea? And I feel like in most of my competition, they are saying, hey, just refer me the business. They're expecting the business without having to work for it. So we're trying to keep adding more and more and more to how do we help our referral sources truly grow? How do we be a plus in their personal life, in their community, and in their business? And if we do those three sectors, I know that the business will come and follow. And now we're just at such a great spot to where we can truly work with the people we fit with, because at the end of the day, there might be someone that's getting my playbook that, hey, they're not a great fit. They're never going to refer us, but guess what? We're still going to help you. We're taking that stance of how do we help? How do we add value to all the people that are in our community and that can potentially refer us business?
So on top of that, what's next for you guys as a whole? I mean, it sounds like right now is a crazy hot market for home loans. I'm sure that you're enjoying this time a lot. Also coming with a lot of work. Yeah,
man, it's crazy. So last year, our team finished number 2 in Pittsburgh for production behind my friend David Holland. David's owned his company for 15
Holland
years.
And out in Campbell's Run?
Yeah.
Okay, he did. Yeah. So he did my mortgage.
Yeah. He's one of the biggest names. He's been around forever. David, I'm coming for you this year, though. But this year, I do think I think we could end up finishing number 1 in Pittsburgh, and we're top 1% nationally. We're actually in the process of expanding into West Virginia, hiring a guy down there, and we're going to potentially, look into, expanding in that market a little bit. And for me, it's just, if I can find the right people and keep growing strategically, I'm going to do that. My goal as soon as I came into Pittsburgh is I want to be number 1 in Pittsburgh. I think next year that will potentially happen. If not next year, it'll happen the year after that. And then, hey, how do we get to number 1 in PA? And then once we're number 1 in PA, I don't know what's next, man. Yeah. Find another state to potentially go into, or maybe I'll come up with some new crazy idea. But we're just trying to take it to the next level with this mortgage stuff, and I want to serve all these Pittsburgh home buyers. So,
is there potential for you to open another office in a different city, expansion wise, in that capacity, or how where's your mind at with that?
Yeah, I think so. Like, our team has so much to offer on our team, and we do things in such a unique way. It's hard. It's really hard to replicate. So we're kind of, I think there's an opportunity to potentially, like, hey, we got KL Mortgage coming up in Florida, and we got a young guy that I'm going to mentor. He's going to be my boots on the ground. But there's going to be opportunities like that will come up. It's just back to find the right people. Yeah. And right now, my sole focus, though, is purely just dominating the Pittsburgh market.
Yeah. You'll have to let me know about I got a couple friends in, the western side of Florida, Tampa, the Panhandle, and south of there, that are pretty successful in the real estate game too. So when that time comes, let me know, and we'll certainly connect you.
Yeah, we've been second homes have been such a hot thing right now. We've been doing a lot of loans in Florida, so we're already licensed there, so we can do business in Florida. It's just I'm not personally boots on the ground, and that's the beauty of our business is I can go get licensed in California tomorrow and close a loan in California tomorrow. because it's all done online now.
Okay.
So we do have that. That's what's nice about expansion. It's not like we don't need a huge office in real estate and leases. Like for the most part, my team's on Zoom every day, and we closed one of our offices because the rent doesn't make sense anymore. So that's the other thing that's crazy with business right now is just COVID has changed a lot.
Yeah,
so.
it's changing the game and the way we operate. So kind of wrapping up here towards the end. So just kind of talk and let us know who's your ideal client, who can use your services, who do you want this to reach?
Yep.
And kind of go from there.
So obviously anyone out there looking to buy a home or refinance, I mean, that's our ideal clientele. We have a very unique process to help home buyers in Pittsburgh get their offers accepted. Probably 10-20% chance an offer is accepted right now for a client because we have such limited inventory. So we have unique things that I'm not even going to tell on this podcast because it's a secret sauce. So the home buyers out in Pittsburgh, if you're struggling to get your offer accepted, that's one thing we'll be able to help you with. And then real estate agents out there, financial planners, CPAs, anyone that comes across mortgage referrals directly, especially real estate agents. Like, I'd love to connect with you. We can add so much value to your business and help you. And if we like and trust each other, I think it's going to be dynamic. So that's our targets. I
need to connect you with the gentleman I had last week, Daniel Massimino. He has U.S. Credit Connection is his company, and he had mentioned about he partners with loan officers, home loan places, and his goal is to help them if they get pre-approved or something along those lines, or it comes down to the loan closing and there's a blip on their credit of some sort, he kind of swoops in and helps them repair.
Like credit repair. Give me connect. I actually need a credit repair guy. I'm not even just saying that.
Yeah, his stories. He's on the last episode. If you take a look, and he's got a really good story. Younger dude, he's 25 or so. And after he was telling me about that, I meant to email you guys and connect you, and I knew I would see you today, so I wanted to ask you and get you in touch with him. But I think you guys would do great things together. So let's just kind of wrap up on this, man. Incredible story, incredible journey. There's just so much there from a gold standpoint that people can pick up, could learn, and can really benefit from personal development, professional development, all that stuff. Give me 2, 3, 4, whatever your main points of why you are successful, what got you here, and anything that you think can translate to the everyday person, self-improvement wise, your core pillars of who you are.
For sure, man. So I think the biggest thing for me is your competitor or whoever you're running against, they put the pants on the same way as you do, So I feel like just mentally realizing you're capable, I think is one of the biggest first steps in anyone's journey, and strengthen yourself mentally. Read the books, surround yourself with mentors and people that can help you. Because if you're truly hungry and you truly want to work, you can accomplish basically anything. But that's a mindset we both share, and not a lot of people that may be listening in, or a lot of people out there, they don't simply believe. So I think the first step is believing. And then after that, I mean, we're talking focus, urgency, discipline, and just being able to do the mundane things over and over and over and over and over again. I think that's all it comes down to. Like, this is not a rocket science type of thing. Believe you can, work hard, discipline, man. And if you apply those things, it doesn't matter. You'll make it work. You'll figure out a way. So
the game of business is very similar to the game of life. It's treat people how you want to be treated.
Yep.
Do to others that you want to be done to you, to your family, people that you care about. It's always do what you say you're going to do. Follow up, stay on top of things, provide a good experience, provide a good product. All things are basically building a business is about treating people well and doing what's right. And that's the extreme stripped down example of what it's like to grow a business. But that's how you win in the long run. And there's no shortcuts. There's no fast forward button. There's no way to start the marathon at mile 10 or 12 versus 1. And I think in today's world with social media, so much is glamorized and nobody really talks about the bullshit that they go through. And I've built the business on being transparent about how fucking hard it is.
Right.
It sucks.
Well, I think that's an important thing for people to realize is, 12 to 14 hours a day is what I'm built for now. That's what I do every single day, weekends. It doesn't stop. And sometimes there's days where, and I'm sure you have these days too, where it's like, man, like, can I get a day? Yeah. Can I get a half a day to breathe? So I think the mental toughness is such an important piece. And if you're someone that is trying to get to a new level, find a person and emulate them, get to know them. What do they do? How do they do it? And once again, it's not rocket science. And guess what? High producing individuals, for the most part, probably will share their story with you. They like to talk about themselves. I like to talk about myself. You like to talk about yourself. Anyone does, right? So if you're trying to hit a certain level, find that mentor, sit down with them, pick their brain. People will share their stories with you, but I think it just comes down to, do you truly want it or not?
Yeah. And that is as simple and cliches, even with the Nike slogan, just do it.
Just fucking do it. Yep.
Look, we've both have had every excuse under the sun that we could have used. When things got hard, we could have said, well, this is the situation. I moved to Houston and this guy scammed me. I'm just going to live here and be pissed off. Okay, no. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take this situation. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to grow and I'm going to become better. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to become an unstoppable force, because the shit that I just went through for the last year in another city that was my second new city in a short amount of time sucked.
Right.
And you know what? I don't care, because that was the best shitty experience that I've had. Right. And for those of you that are listening to this, I'm telling you, you can change your life the way you look at situations. Figure out how to spin it into a positive. Figure out how to glow from something. Figure out how to learn from something. Like Kevin said earlier, you fail forward. And that's the only way to do it, because life's going to throw curveballs. Life's going to kick you in the ass over and over and over again. And whenever it happens over and over again, it's going to continue to happen another 3 or 4 times before the light of day actually happens.
I tell my salespeople, like, if you wake up not expecting to get punched in the face 5 times, go back to sleep. So every day you have to, like, at least you're going to take 5 punches today. So I think it's, be ready for the day. Know you're going to have struggle. I think a lot of people wake up every day and hope for this glamorous, perfect day. If you wake up and know you're about to get your ass kicked and you're ready, you're going to always find that positive. You're always going to find the positive. Be ready for the fight and expect it. Don't wake up thinking like you're going to have this glamorous day. Like, if I'm going to walk out of here and trip and like something's going to happen, it's like, oh, well, that's my 5th punch of the day. It's all right. We'll find the positive.
That's how it goes. and lastly, dude, I'm trying to launch Ready to Wear this year. It was the first time I've got into it. I've wanted to do it forever. First batch comes in wrong. Had to send it back. They make the adjustments. Everything's great. We sell out instantly. Can't keep stuff in stock. Okay, cool. Send more stuff to get done. Design it. Bring it in. Came back wrong the same way it was done the first time. Now I'm starting to get pissed off. Right. And it's like, now the weather's changing. The seasons are changing. Well, I've winter/spring stuff. Well, Pittsburgh, that could change instantly, and all of a sudden it's 80 degrees and winter's gone. So now it's like, okay, this is another facet of building a business. There are other headaches that are out of my control, but I've got $10,000 or $15,000 worth of inventory tied up now. Right. And now I have to figure out another plan. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to learn from that. I'm going to grow from that. And now, because of that, I'm opening my own sewing studio in Pittsburgh, because I want to do it and I want to control it, and I don't want to have these mistakes. Right. But the shit that I just went through taught me how to do that. Now I'm starting another business, which is going to make more money than I'm actually paying my own business to do this. Right. So it's a win. So, dude, I appreciate you being here. This is awesome, man. Great. I think I finally realized the only way to hang out with you is to interview you and to talk to you. So every Friday from here on out the rest of the year, we're going to be hanging out. But no, I appreciate you being here, man. This is awesome. I genuinely... You're one of my favorite people that I've met. You're a good dude. You continue to change the game, and it's really inspiring to see. And I think this podcast, this episode particularly, is going to help a lot of people. And I appreciate you opening up in such detail about the journey, everything that you've been through. And I'm telling you, anybody who's listening, just follow along with Kevin and look at. We're going to have all your details in the show notes. But if you have any social media handles, anything like that you want people to reach out to or follow, or even just drop any contact information, feel free to do that now. And if there's any way that you want people to reach out to you. Yeah, _Kevin O_ is my Instagram handle. So feel free to follow me there, message me there. And anyone out there that can help. I mean, I am pretty busy, but the weekends are open, so I'm happy to help. I know David probably is happy to help too, but it's all about adding value. So yeah, and if you need, I'm telling you, and this is why Kevin is on here. If you need help, if you want advice, both of us are willing to help.
Yep.
We'll give you, half an hour. We'll give you an hour, whatever the time is that fits into our schedule. We'll make it work because we both want to help people.
Yep.
So don't be shy to reach out. Just make sure if you reach out, you come prepared, because I hate when people waste time.
Yeah.
It's just, there's other things that should be done. I don't want to go through that stuff.
Right.
But no, I appreciate you being here, man. Excited to get this episode out and keep kicking ass.
Awesome, brother.
Yep.
Appreciate you, man.
Take over number one for
yes,
this year.
Sir. Let's go.
All right. Thanks, guys, for listening. Appreciate you. And stay tuned. Talk to you soon.